everybody, this is the Crew Dude. When it comes to movies based on video games, it's no small secret that they tend to not be great. Whether it's because of a complete misuse of source material, a greater focus on superficial elements, or fundamental changes that break the established tone, it goes to show that films and video games are two drastically different forms of storytelling, and many people fail to grasp the nuance and understanding required to deliver a decent retelling of events. The difference is night and day. And while you may love the story of your favorite game, I think most of the enjoyment stems from what you can do as you progress and the journey you undergo to reach the goal. Granted, that might not be the case at all. A game can have a bad story but a fun gameplay style that is enjoyable to sit through, whereas a good story with bad gameplay can be fun but a draining grind to get through to a point where fans say it ruined their experience. I mention this because Sony recently announced that they would continue adapting their IPs into either films or TV shows with franchises such as The Last of Us, which is set to premiere on HBO, and the recent Uncharted movie. I know a lot of people liked it, but I was not one of them. While they have made a few adaptations like this before in recent history, none of them were well received. The Heavenly Sword movie failed due to its focus on misogynistic themes, terrible pacing, and how it bastardized beloved characters when the game it was based on had much better storytelling and phenomenal voice work. Their exclusive series Powers was based on a comic series and took advantage of having obscene content for the hell of it due to its exclusivity. After binge-watching both seasons, I have no idea why no one thought to write a second draft. It was simply bland, repetitive, poorly paced, and really badly edited at times to a point where it was distracting. There were even plans for a movie based on Sly Cooper, but the trailer was not very well received. Over time, the film ended up getting delayed and later cancelled, then there were plans for a TV show, but nothing ever came of it. The movie I'm going to talk about is the film adaptation for Ratchet and Clank, which I actually kind of liked. Even though it still got negative reviews, it at least showed some degree of effort in terms of its presentation and connection to the source material, and I would say it's at least better than Powers or Heavenly Sword by comparison. If you don't know, Ratchet and Clank is a series of action platform games with a strong emphasis on weaponry and space exploration. The story centers around Ratchet, a cat-like creature called a lombax, who meets a small robot he names Clank, and the two travel the galaxy to fight enjoyable villains while amassing a large arsenal of creative weapons. Made by Insomniac Games, who previously developed the Spyro games on the PlayStation 1, released the first installment of the series back in 2002 for the PlayStation 2, and it received widespread acclaim by fans and critics. However, this wasn't the first game they attempted to create for the console. While trying to come up with a new IP after the completion of Spyro, Insomniac created a concept for an action platformer set in a fantasy world where a female protagonist attacks magical creatures with a staff. The game was called Girl with a Stick, which started the trend with Insomniac's clever use of innuendo titles. Unfortunately, the team really did not enjoy working on the game, and even Sony didn't have faith that the project would find a loyal fan base. The team was relieved to cease production on the game, and went back to the drawing board where they began development on Ratchet and Clank. From there, it became one of PlayStation's largest franchises with over a dozen games, a comic series, and a handful of merchandise. In 2013, it was announced that Ratchet and Clank would come to the big screen with a feature film, and I was so psyched to check it out. A retelling of the first game written by TJ Fixman? Hell yes! The film was produced by Rainmaker Entertainment, who prior to this worked on quite a few animated Max Steel and Barbie films. Oh yeah, and they also made the Scary Godmother movies that I also reviewed. That didn't inspire much confidence in me either, but if you told me that they went from this to this, I would find it impossible to believe. Given how much effort and care went into the animation based on the trailer alone, it was clear that they do have some talent, so I had high hopes for it. Kevin Munro was the director behind this film, and he was actually the lead scriptwriter. While Fixman worked on the story, it was Munro who single-handedly wrote the script. Obviously, Munro isn't a very well-known director, but after checking his catalog, it turns out that he was the director behind TMNT, as well as the co-producer of Strange Magic.
Sadly, now's the time for me to go!
With that in mind, I was very skeptical, but I went in with an open mind. After a long and patient wait, the film was released alongside a PS4 reboot in 2016. The game's sales broke records, and sold more copies than any Ratchet and Clank game before it, while faithfully following the events of the film. A handful of books were also released alongside it, like a fun guide, a novelization, and this, Ratchet and Clank Hero Time. Far out in the Solana galaxy, an alien named Chairman Drek had a plan, and it was not a nice one. "Activate the deplanetizer!" he told his troops. In a flash, his spacecraft fired a super-powered laser beam at an empty planet. Kaboom! The planet exploded. Drek just needed to destroy a few more planets, and he would have all the pieces he needed to complete his master plan. No one in the galaxy could stop him now. Why do I own this? However, the film itself wasn't as popular. Many fans seemed to love it, but others found the film to be uninteresting with a basic story that utilized several tired tropes. Since we're close to the 20th anniversary of the series, I think now would be a good time to look back on it and see how it holds up. So with that said, let's lock and load and check out the Ratchet and Clank movie. The film opens as a massive spaceship flies within orbit of planet Tenamule, where we meet our main antagonist, Supreme Executive Chairman Drek, voiced by Paul Giamatti. In the original game, he was voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, who honestly fit the role a bit better. Giamatti isn't a bad choice of casting, but I do wish that he maintained the same menacing presence as before, but I'll get into that as time goes on. So Drek addresses his team of Blarg engineers as he introduces the deplanetizer, a laser capable of destroying entire planets, fittingly enough.
We have also broken 16 galactic statutes and 1 star ordinance, so I shouldn't see anything about this online. We will unleash a weapon so powerful that it will take... Stanley, are you seriously still texting after what I just said?
Not sure which is more confusing, the way that he didn't even try to hide it, or that this universe still uses primitive flip phones when teleportation is also readily available. So the planet is blown to bits, and then we cut to the nearby settlement of Kizel Plateau on planet Velden. By the way, the most shocking thing about this is that I now know I've been pronouncing it wrong for 15 years. Anyways, we see Ratchet, voiced once again by James Arnold Taylor, as he tunes into the news that planet Tenamule has been destroyed, making this the 4th recent planet to meet this fate. As a result, President Pyronix has ordered the Galactic Rangers to grow their ranks by 1 member. Not sure why he waited until now to finally take this seriously, but okay. Not to mention, the President never appears again in this movie, and even the image you see here was taken directly from the wiki. So Captain Quark publicly announces that he will be touring Kizel Plateau in search of a potential recruit. Ratchet, who dreams of joining them and making something of himself, sets off to the presentation, but not before getting caught up in his work. Just like in the games, Ratchet works to build and repair ships, but now he does it as a full-time job. This was the one change that I actually liked, because it shows his skill as a mechanic, and he even has a mentor named Grimmeth, voiced by John Goodman. Again, I like that we get to see him have a father figure instead of him learning the skill off-screen. Here, he actually has a reason for it. Unfortunately, his motive for wanting to be a hero isn't as relatable. Granted, I do understand the desire to be famous and benefit society, but that was never who he was. In the original game, he was just some kid who lived an ordinary life but was brought into this mission all of a sudden, and he had to bring Clank to Captain Quark to enlist his help. When that did not work, the two started blaming each other, and Ratchet simply did not want to be a part of it anymore, but it wasn't until the situation progressively got worse that he realized that he needed to rise to the occasion when no one else possibly could. He went through a solid arc that changed him over time, but here, Ratchet stays relatively the same even after accomplishing his goal, and I know that was the main complaint among fans of the series as a whole. So an old man named Mr. Micron arrives to pick up his ship, but Ratchet decided to modify it as opposed to applying the repairs that the client asked for.
Are you ready to have your mind blown?
No.
I'll take that as a yes.
He very clearly said no.
I think there's been a mistake. I came in to get my ejector seat repaired.
Why repair something when you can improve it? Come on, have a seat.
I'm pretty sure that's what a repair service does. So with all of these things that probably aren't covered by this poor bastard's insurance, the mag booster starts up, causing a few metal items to magnetize to with comedic timing before the ship's thrusters suddenly activate. I mean, Ratchet could have easily helped him out before that, but now he ends up soaring through the canyon. I'll say once again that the animation in this film is surprisingly really good. The The textures, effects, and lighting all look great most of the time, and it was truly fun experiencing this in theaters. Twice. So Ratchet manages to fix the ship and accidentally launches the client into orbit.
That was a close one, huh?
I want a refund!
Yeah, that is gonna show up on my mid-year review.
As Ratchet and Grim try to repair the damage, Ratchet reveals his living dream of becoming a hero.
I just feel like I'm supposed to do more. I've always dreamt of being a Galactic Ranger, doing big things like Captain Quark.
You want to know mechanics advice? Dream smaller. It leads to less disappointment.
Please, Grim. I just need 1 hour off so I can go to the spaceport for tryouts.
You promised you'd help me give proton scrubs to every ship on the plateau.
Despite his major screw-up and careless nature, Ratchet somehow convinces Grim to let him go to tryouts to avoid his responsibilities. In the 2016 reboot, this was an actual gameplay segment that tutorialized the controls. This actually worked, since it demonstrated Ratchet's determination and gave him an actual reason to be considered for the position. Sadly, we don't get that here, as the Galactic Rangers just make a public appearance. Here we meet some of the other characters, such as Cora Verilux, voiced by Bella Thorne, Brax Lectress, voiced by Vincent Tong, and Captain Quark, voiced once again by Jim Ward. Unfortunately, this would be one of Ward's final roles before his retirement.
After all, you may not have this chiseled jaw or godlike pectoral region, but if you have heart, then you have what it takes. You don't have what it takes.
But I have heart.
Yes, but unfortunately that heart is encased in a weak, muscleless mass of inexperience. Plus, there's your history to consider.
Got a long line of citations here. Possession of an illegal gravity repulsor.
That was a misunderstanding. I thought that space pirate was on the level.
Operation of a black market accelerator.
Surely something like that wouldn't affect his potential job with the Rangers.
Willful disruption of the space-time continuum?
That is a funny story.
Oh, now the existence of this reboot makes sense.
You're reckless, you're a loose cannon, and you're dangerous. That's my shtick.
Wait, just give me a chance.
Sorry, no time. Galaxy in jeopardy. Get back out there. And remember, you can do anything. As long as you're me. Next!
So Ratchet is turned down and he returns to his garage to sulk. We then cut to the Blargian homeworld of Quartu, where we are introduced to Dr. Nefarious, voiced once again by Armin Shimmerman, who is the head scientist working for Drek in this universe. Unfortunately, his butler Lawrence is not present, which is a bit disappointing. I know that there were already plenty of characters in this film, but a good amount of the comedy in the games came from the interactions between the two. I will say that it is cool to finally see him in his previously organic form before he was turned into a bigoted robot. Also, I'd like to point out that the choice to make Quartu the homeworld is understandable, but unfortunately it doesn't work well with the plot, and I'll explain why later. In the original continuity, planet Orxon was the former Blargian planet until it became heavily polluted, preventing them from living there, whereas Quartu was just a robot facility where Clank was first created. So Dr. Nefarious presents his new army of warbots with the sole purpose of exterminating the Galactic Rangers.
300 sentient warbots, built using the finest raritanium in the galaxy, and programmed to assassinate the Galactic Rangers. Proton-powered, rust-proof, and laser-guided. Each of these perfect creations is an efficient, remorseless killing machine.
Remember the rust-proof thing, that comes into play later.
My warbots know every offensive tactic in the Ranger Handbook. They won't just kill the Rangers.
Target acquired.
They'll annihilate them!
Yeah, unless they encounter a foolhardy lombax who can think for himself, then they're screwed. The factory is then struck by lightning, which causes a brief power outage, resulting in the birth of a small defective robot voiced by David Kay. Now, in the games, we eventually learn the purpose behind Clank's creation and his destiny, but here, I guess I'm supposed to assume it was just a random occurrence by pure luck. Unlike the other robots on the assembly line, this one is different because he has free will and decides that rather than killing the Rangers, he wants to protect them. Wow, he's only been alive for a few seconds and already he planned out his own future. So he manages to run away and commandeer one of the ships while Drek's lieutenant, Victor, voiced by Sylvester Stallone, catches up to him and shoots out the engine with a negotiator rocket. The ship is somehow able to leave the planet's atmosphere despite its damages and crash lands on Veldin. Ratchet heads off to investigate and rescues the robot, which he names Clank, before the ship self-destructs.
I must get to Alero City. They are in danger.
Whoa. Hey, who's in danger?
An army is coming. I must warn them.
Hang on. Slow down. You've been in a crash. What do you say we get you back to my garage? I'll run a diagnostic and have you fixed up in no time.
Thank you. I appreciate the assistance.
As Ratchet takes Clank back to his garage for repairs, Clank informs Ratchet that the Rangers are in imminent danger, which excites Ratchet, thinking that this now gives him the opportunity to prove himself.
So why didn't you say so? I can totally help.
Oh, I could not ask a civilian to get involved in something so dangerous.
No, I'm not just a civilian. The Rangers are actually my, friends. Why do you think I have so many pictures of them?
But why are you not in any of them?
Well, someone had to take the picture, right? I mean, come on. I even have a ship. It disassembles so it can infiltrate enemy strongholds. So what do you say?
I guess Mr. Micron won't be seeing his ship ever again. Let's hope it wasn't leased. We cut to Alero City on planet Kerwan, where Captain Quark prepares to fight off the invasion. Honestly, I wasn't too upset with the name change, but it was called Metropolis in the original continuity, and it was a major location, so it just seems a bit weird to change the name to something different if it's the same place. Despite being in the middle of a major battle, I can at least take comfort in the fact that the gift shop is open. 50% off to whoever isn't bisected. As Ratchet and Clank enter the planet's atmosphere, we get a bit of backstory for Ratchet, as well as a few fun references.
What?
Apologies. I have not been able to locate your species in my database.
Yeah, I get that a lot. There aren't many of us left. Not in this galaxy, anyway.
Of course, some of these Easter eggs include Daxter from the Jak and Daxter series, Dan Johnson, one of the former employees from Insomniac who is sadly no longer with us, and Sly Cooper in his atrocious redesign from the ill-fated movie trailer.
I'm a lombax.
A lombax. Fascinating.
Yeah. I crashed on Veldin when I was just a baby. No note, no message, no name. Kinda like you.
Now, of course the Lombaxes have a richly detailed lore as explored in the Future Saga, but it's never touched on again in the film. I get that only so much can be explored in a film's runtime, but it feels like a bit of a missed opportunity, especially when his search for the Lombaxes is a major element in his journey. We quickly move past that as they approach the Hall of Heroes. The battle intensifies, leading to, admittingly, a pretty funny joke.
Wilhelm!
As Ratchet and Clank formulate a plan, Ratchet gets caught in his lie, but it hardly means anything in the long run. In fact, it's quickly forgotten about.
Ratchet, we are clearly not prepared for this. We should have contacted the Rangers to warn them of the attack.
Then why didn't they do that from the beginning? It would have saved them a lot of trouble.
Yeah, like they'd know who we are.
But you said they were your friends.
What? I think you're quoting me out of context. The Rangers are actually my, friends. Do you record everything I say? Do you record everything I say?
So Clank reprograms the mag booster to magnetize the metal alloy of the warbots and flings them back at the ship, destroying it and saving the day. As the dust dies down, Captain Quark attempts to steal credit, but reluctantly recruits Ratchet and Clank into the Rangers. As Drek and company attempt to rectify the situation, Dr. Nefarious suggests that it would be easier to take advantage of Quark's stupidity and turn him against the others. In the original game, Quark was hired by Drek from the beginning to endorse his new planet as the celebrity icon. It led to an interesting but predictable twist, but here, he just easily bends and willingly trusts the villains who want to destroy the galaxy for no justifiable reason. He was a respected hero whose career was suffering, so to avoid becoming washed up, he turned to more villainous ways to stay in the spotlight. That was infinitely better than simply asking him politely. As Ratchet and Clank tour the headquarters, the Rangers begin their training and meet with the head engineer named Alaris, voiced by Rosario Dawson. If you look closely at the screen, she's actually playing Up Your Arsenal in first-person mode. I'll admit that's a pretty cool callback. So Clank is hired as Alaris' new assistant, as Ratchet is suited up and given advanced weapons training. Here's a scene that I like to call blatant fan service. We see a bunch of weapons from the game that Ratchet absolutely sucks at using, but the problem is, most of them don't appear again in the actual film. But hey, I'm sure Jackson Finley is happy to see his Spiral of Death make a cameo, so that's cool. Unfortunately, the weapons are later used for the sake of plot convenience rather than being an organic part of the world. As Ratchet continues to fail miserably, Alaris gives Clank a tour of the office and explains that Dr. Nefarious was once a Galactic Ranger himself before he went missing. Yeah, in reality he couldn't handle the bullying at the hands of Captain Quark. Given the way they talk about Alaris behind her back, I'm not surprised that he quit. I mean, that kind of fits, but originally Quark was a 26-year-old high school student who bullied Nefarious unfairly, but it suits the characters. Here, we really don't understand the connection they once had. I mean, there's a little bit near the climax, but it never justifies Nefarious turning into an evil mastermind. As Ratchet's newfound fame goes to his head, Quark quickly becomes jealous of him for essentially no reason. I mean, they were supposed to grow their ranks to fight Drek, but now he is so caught up in his own pride that he values his own image instead of the galaxy that he claims he wants to protect.
Hey, you think they'll name a street after me? Or a cologne? Ratchet! Smell like a hero!
Remember how when Deadlocked, Ratchet actively rejected fame and merchandising? I don't know if Monroe did this as a fun callback, or if he blatantly misunderstood the character. Probably both of them, being honest. Not long after, Quark and the others rush into active combat after detailing his poorly thought-out plan. As they infiltrate the base, Drek manages to get one step ahead of them, and we get this weird scene.
Initiate Phase 1. Let's scatter the cockroaches. Just push the button, Zed!
What the hell was the point of that? So the Rangers get swarmed by an army of Mr. Zircon robots, scattering the team until Ratchet, Clank, and Korra discover a detailed set of plans for the deplanetizer, where it is revealed that Drek intends to destroy multiple planets and use tremendous land masses from each to literally build a new world for his species. Meanwhile, Drek manages to lure Quark into his office, leading to another really funny line.
Don't move. I'm listening.
From there, through this very bizarre logic I didn't really follow, they persuade Quark to betray the citizens of the Solana Galaxy while playing off his victim complex in order to, I don't know, shift the blame, I guess. As Quark allows Drek and Victor to escape, Drek leaves behind his robot assistant, Zed, voiced by Andrew Cowden, allowing him to be captured by the Rangers and interrogated.
Okay! Novalis! He wants Novalis!
Novalis? Novalis is populated.
Yes! 43,618,924 people to be exact!
The Snorkelses had twins this morning.
What made this scene better in the reboot game is that we actually got to see Novalis make a physical appearance in-game as it was revealed to be Korra's homeworld. Of course, she gets no such character development here, but that does bring me to a major problem with the film on its own. The characters aren't very well developed outside of their basic desires. They went through much more defining character arcs in the games, but here, we don't see anything that shows any real growth. As a whole, it feels like the writers at Insomniac Games did their best to write a better story around what was provided to them, but they couldn't fully work around the prominent flaws. Anyways, moving along. As instructed by Drek, Captain Quark disables the ship's weapons system, accompanied by the original PlayStation startup sound. Again, another fun callback. So Novalis is rapidly evacuated while Drek launches his ships at the Rangers, going against his end of the deal. Victor realizes that Clank survived and heads off to the main ship to settle the score.
What was that?
I do not know. I will investigate. Probably just the ship settling.
Defect!
Oh my.
As Clank realizes that Victor reacts badly to water, he heads off to the weapon room and just so happens to find a thunder smack readily available, which he uses to generate a rain cloud to rust Victor to death. This is why the weapons should be introduced beforehand so that they become relevant later on, because it just comes across as lazy writing. In the 2016 game, Clank had to solve a minigame to activate the sprinkler system, which made more sense in context. What are the odds that a casual fan would remember a weapon that only faithfully appeared in one game? Who the hell cares about All for One anyway? Also, I know it reappeared in Full Frontal Assault, but it changed in both appearance and function. Speaking of dumb writing, Ratchet manages to get on board the Deplanetizer only to be caught by Drek in a magnet. Here we are informed of Drek's ultimate evil plan.
I never had a proper planet. I spent my formative years underground, where everything was dark and wet and hot.
Yeah, that's his whole reason for creating a new planet. He didn't like living underground. Okay? If he wanted a new home so badly, then why not just colonize one of the uninhabited planets he blew up? This is such an extreme solution for such a petty problem. In the original 2002 game, he does this because Orxon was polluted with so much toxic waste that they couldn't live there anymore. But it wasn't until the end of the game when we learned that he had caused the pollution so that he could build a new planet, all in the name of the greedy pursuit of money. It was a pretty fun twist, so why couldn't that work here? It just makes no sense to have him do this, and he ends up becoming a very weak character as a result. So Ratchet notices Quark talking with one of the Blarg and realizes that he had betrayed them. Drek brings Ratchet to the escape pods as he is forced to witness the destruction of Nivalis. Why doesn't he lock him up or something? I don't know. This would be a lot more harrowing if we had a chance to connect with the planet like in the game. Also, Quark comes to regret his decision to ruin millions of lives, even though he should have known that would happen. As Ratchet returns to Veldin, he decides to give up on the hero life for about 10 minutes, while Grim and Clank attempt to console him.
The evacuation of Nivalis was successful. No one was killed or injured.
Well, that was convenient. How did they evacuate 44 million people in a couple of minutes anyway?
But those people lost their homes. And for that, I have to take full responsibility.
Blaming yourself and taking responsibility are two very different things. If you truly want to be accountable, you will endeavor to make things right the next time.
I actually think that's pretty solid advice, but they don't do anything with it, but it's somehow enough to break Ratchet out of his slump before the Rangers return to regroup.
Listen, guys, I'm sorry I ran out on you like that. Even though I messed up, I should have stayed to fix it and see it through.
We've all made bad choices. Here, check it out. My cadet photo. Oh, really? That's how we're playing?
Okay, there's no need to embarrass anyone here. Okay, everyone, chill out.
How does this compare? It's like one guy causes a major PR nightmare, while his coworker consoles him with a story about how he clogged the only toilet. So Alaris comes up with a new plan to move the laser off course so that it targets the hybrid planet as opposed to the next target. Back on the Deplanetizer, Quark confronts Drek after learning that Dr. Nefarious survived and is now a part of the team. He warns him about his evil potential, but Drek really couldn't care less until he inevitably betrays him a few seconds later.
That was fun! And t-shirts would be a good idea. Good for morale. What do you think, Neffy? Should we...
Sheepinator, one of my personal favorites.
Nefarious then shoves Drek into an escape pod and fires him at the hybrid planet, thus taking control of the whole operation. Meanwhile, Ratchet and company work to upgrade their ships when Alaris calls them back and reveals that the next planet to be destroyed is Umbris.
Well, at least he picked an empty planet this time.
Yes, however, it is a volatile planet. Its core is made up of pure maluvium. Blowing it up will result in a chain reaction that will destroy the entire system.
So I guess Umbris is retconned to be a hazardous wasteland? While the planet only made a physical appearance in the original 2002 game, it has been confirmed that it does have a population. In the unlockable epilogue, it is shown that Quark's base there was put up for auction, and we even get this throwaway line in Tools of Destruction.
Oh, come on. There's no way a lombax would invent something that ridiculous.
Oh, really? What about your nuclear-powered rocket sled? Your antimatter bathroom buddy? And let us not forget about the electroshock undergarments you invented last fall.
Stunderwear. Huge seller on Umbris.
There's absolutely no justifiable reason for Nefarious to want to do this. What could he possibly gain from pointlessly destroying planets like this? It just feels like this movie is full of stupid characters who do pointless things for no personal benefit. In the game, we do get some reasoning, as if Nefarious wants to do this to discredit the Rangers by proving their ineffectiveness, but then again, what benefit does this have? So Alaris creates a device called the Hollow Guys, which can perfectly disguise Ratchet as Quark, allowing him to infiltrate the base with Clank, where they work together to deactivate the deplanetizer's laser. One of the Blarg runs off to alert Nefarious, forcing him to stay and confront the two himself. How did the other Blarg easily fall for this? The real Quark was on board the station, so you would think that they'd know if he left to begin with. Either way, the plan works a little too easily, and Quark attacks Ratchet in the targeting room until he has a change of heart and gives up the fight.
I'm sorry. I don't know how things got this far.
This is just pathetic.
Nefarious! Give it up! It's over. As head of the Galactic Rangers, he's here to place you under arrest.
Me?
I slaved away, creating all the weapons and devices that made you look like a hero. But you're not a hero. You're not even a good villain. You're the galaxy's biggest joke.
Maybe, but now the last laugh is on you!
Wait, what? That didn't make any sense.
Sure did.
No, it didn't. It sounded like you were combining the joke is on you with I'll have the last laugh.
Take your pick.
That's not how it works! My point is, if you're gonna use a one-liner, it should make sense and be relevant to the situation!
It's still going? This joke would have been funnier if they knew when to stop.
Now put your hands in the air.
Over your dead body!
Shouldn't he have said over my dead body? If you're going to deliver a one-liner, at least get the phrase right. Great, now I'm doing it. So Drax and Cora use their mag boosters to pull the deplanetizer off course, just as Nefarious activates the laser, thus saving the galaxy from simply blowing up. The blast targets Drek's new world and puts an end to his reign of terror. With the plan foiled, Nefarious reveals the deadliest and most badass weapon in the series.
Meet the Rhino! As in, rip you a new one!
Hey, Nefarious! What?
Unfortunately, he never fires a single shot. Ratchet then sucker punches him, sending him falling into the laser, and he disintegrates. In the game, his death was animated differently, but I guess it was done because there was more faith in the film getting a sequel as opposed to the game for some reason. Ratchet, Clank, and Quark rush into the control room and use one of the teleporters to escape, but Quark falls from the platform and lands against the window. Clank quickly comes up with an idea to save him, and he says this.
What are you doing?
Improvising.
Ratchet looks at him like this was an ongoing theme, but it just comes out of nowhere. Wait, is this why it had depth and rift apart?
I don't know about your dimension, but out here, things never go according to plan. Improvisation is a skill you learn very fast.
Multiverse confirmed! Somehow the teleporter is able to function after it was disconnected from the platform, and they use it to save Quark, allowing them all to safely return to the ship.
How many planets do you think I'll have to save for them to call me a hero again?
You don't have to do big things to be a hero, Quark. Just the right ones.
I must say that it is curious that the sudden cessation of velocity relative to our inertia did not cause either of you to... Oh dear.
Don't worry, Cadet. It happens to the best of... Oh, that was terrible.
And here we get the one joke from the trailer, folks. So Ratchet returns to Veldon to fulfill his promise to Grimm, as Quark is demoted and imprisoned for his crimes. The film ends, as it is revealed that Dr. Nefarious survived falling into a planet and was somehow rebuilt as a robot. Really cool, even though it doesn't make sense. Although this scene only exists for sequel bait, I wouldn't hold out hope. Like I said, I enjoyed this film despite its flaws, but to analyze its narrative, it leaves a lot to be desired. While it is well animated and the voice acting is great as always, the story suffers from a lot of amateur mistakes. The characters don't really change by the end of the film, as Ratchet fulfills his dream rather easily, and while there are some good lessons to take away from this, they really don't carry the impact needed to translate to the audience. If I hadn't played the game, I would not even remember most of the characters or events, since the game provides a lot of good context that the movie suffered without. Also, for a film titled Ratchet and Clank, it really doesn't have them interacting as a duo for the majority of the film, as Ratchet is too preoccupied with impressing his idols, while Clank sits in the back with Alaris for a few scenes. I'll be honest and say that I was a bit disengaged at times, mostly due to not having much investment in their conflicts, but there's nothing in this movie that I would say is harmful to kids in any way. In the end, it's not the worst, but it could have been so much better. This is the M Crew Dude signing off, wishing you all a very pleasant day.